So I survived 100 days in ultra hardcore. Again, because I enjoyed it. Also, we're on 1.20 now, so I can use all of the new features like pink wood. After spawning in and making sure I couldn't naturally regenerate, I began chopping wood. Got stone, made stone tools, got more stone with the stone tools, made more stone tools with the stone I had collected with my stone pickaxe made of stone. I then began slaying the local population and collecting surface resources like coal. After collecting that coal, I completely forgot I was playing UHC and decided to take fall damage, which I wasn't happy about. I began cooking my food in the smoker because I was very quickly starving. I collected more coal, explored, collected more coal. Then the sun went down. I found the ruined portal, looted it for some decent armor and tools, saw a village and began sprinting to it, hoping to find the bed. I slept in a bed. I began the next morning by taking out the police force. I made a hoe, stole these people's food like a conqueror, made a boat, and took to the sea. I wanted easy iron, and the best way to do that is shipwrecks. The first one I found contained my very first diamond along with lots of iron. It also contained a treasure map. I found another shipwreck. More iron, but most importantly, gold. Gold in this world is just as important to me as diamonds were, if not more. With gold, I can craft golden apples, which is one of the few ways I can make up for my many mistakes. As the sun set, I slept again. I began the next lovely morning by following the treasure map. Inside, there was even more diamonds, gold, and iron, along with other stuff that I took but never used, and emeralds. In a sneaky ruined portal chest, I found my first golden apple, which I used to heal myself. I continued my career as an actor for the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise and plundered more shipwrecks, finding protection for leggings and armor trims, one of the new things this update added, and something I'll make heavy use of very soon. Like Christopher Columbus, I landed in a new world and began ransacking its resources. After sailing for a little while longer following a new map, I came across another village. Little did I know it, but this village would play a huge role in the later game. As I approached the area where the buried treasure would be, I decided it was too cool for the map, so I threw it away. I then proceeded to not find the chest at all. Hey, map? No hard feelings, right? I mean, you're soaking wet now, so they'd probably be wet feelings? Wait, no. Anyways, this chest was the jackpot. 4 diamonds and a crap ton of other useful stuff. My problem now was that my inventory was, making me fat. So after sailing around the coast, I spotted a huge ruined portal. As I approached, the new pink wood biome came into view. I looted the portal, watched the dolphin commit floor as lava, then landed on the beach. However, at the time, I decided against exploring inland. I needed a place to call home, and I knew for a future project that I wanted it near the ocean. So, after sailing some more, I decided to head inland anyways. But I'm glad I did, because I then found the perfect place soon after. I marked my territory by laying my by placing my extremely valuable items down and setting up a chest. I then made a diamond axe, because I'm cool. No, but in all honesty, I wanted a house, and I wanted it to be made of wood. So, yeah. After sleeping, I began my job as a lumberjack and proceeded to ruin the lives of harmless animals for my own comfort. I'm Canadian, by the way. But before I started building my house, I needed to make sure I could live in it. That meant food. The correlation is there, I promise. Mainly in the word live. I set up some simple oak fences, and using wheat from the villagers, I lured some clueless animals over to some of the worst living conditions on the planet. Well, this planet. I don't even want to know what process delivers a T-bone steak onto my plate. Oh, it's called cooking? Got it. For now, and forever, I only captured sheep and cows, because cows give me leather and sheep are fluffy. And I also star on Despicable Me as well as Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm just very talented. That's probably why you've never heard of me. Also, let's change that now. If you're new around here and are enjoying the video so far, please subscribe. I've made a lot of videos like this before, even an entire 3-part series on this exact genre. But Magicov, doesn't that mean this idea is just you copying an older video? No. It's repurposing. Nostalgia. You wouldn't get it. Also, if you really enjoyed this video, please consider following me on my new Patreon to help me pay for my morning hot chocolate, supporting the channel. It would mean a lot to me. It is linked with my other channel that does a lot of different stuff than this one does, but I'll definitely be posting more Minecraft stuff on that Patreon as well. Anyways, where was I? Right, animal cruelty. Did I really just sandwich a Patreon advertisement between 2 accounts of animal cruelty? I suppose other YouTubers have done worse. As night fell, I lit up my area to make sure my fear of the dark didn't overtake me and leave me with crippling anxiety. Some mobs wouldn't spawn. Except one did, a child. So, I dealt with him in the best way I knew of, by becoming Obi-Wan Kenobi and stabbing him from above. After dealing with my inner demons, I'm talking about the baby zombie of course, I decided to finally put a roof above my head. I needed more wood, so I got more wood. I built up the foundation first, because if I just put a roof above my head, that might be problematic. I slept again. I continued building my small starter home, keeping it small because I knew I would eventually move or tear it down, but I still made it look good with the resources I had. I moved my stuff inside, and placed my enchanting table, which I guess I made at some point. Once the home was done, I slept, and finally made myself iron armor, but instead of putting it on right away, I began to make use of these new armor trims, combining them with emerald. Then I put my armor on, and let me just say, ladies, get in line, because I look disgusting and the door is that way, so get out of here! The next thing I did was make a task wall. You should totally read this sign, by the way, it's very insightful and inspirational. I wanted to get to know my surroundings a bit more, so I hopped on the boat and sailed for literally 10 seconds, and I found a scene that took my breath away. Unironically, this is some of the nicest terrain I've ever seen in Minecraft, and I knew that as soon as I was ready to move out from my parents' basement, I mean my starter home, I would move here. The last thing I did on that day was kill a squid, a chicken, and a book. Wait, no, I just got the book. But anyway, I combined the ink sac, the feather, and the book together with a girl named Heather and a group called Merryweather to create a book and quill. Why? Coordinates. That's all. As day 8 began, I chopped more wood because, well, I already knew what my future projects were going to look like, and they needed lots of wood. So I spent the entire day chopping down trees and replanting them. I literally didn't do anything else. But on day 9, with 5 golden apples crafted from ruined portal gold, I went into a cave, which turned out to be a big mistake as a witch and multiple skeletons decided to hurt me emotionally. So instead of using caves to get my resources, I decided to take the boring method, digging a staircase down the bedrock and strip mining, which also turned out to suck as I kept running into underwater caves, which aren't great for staircases. As I reached deep slate, I heard the sound of lava. So I dug to it and found myself in a mine shaft. I killed a zombie, found gold, found iron, which actually turned out to be one of those massive iron veins, a chest that had a name tag and gold, found my first redstone, more gold and iron, another chest with a golden apple, and I finally found diamonds. Hooray! With that, I returned to my staircase and continued digging down until I reached a small cave with gold and redstone. Then, I finally reached bedrock. Now, if we know what strip mining is, it's basically where you dig a long tunnel and every 2 blocks you dig little strips into the wall. Why did I say that so quick? This method normally doesn't work very well for me, but for some reason, this time, I got a lot more lucky. Time day 11 rolled around, I had 12 diamonds, which basically made me a millionaire, because diamonds totally aren't overinflated for no reason at all. I don't know. I'm sure there's an actual reason to why the demand is so high despite the supply. Why do I keep bringing real life into this? On day 11, I immediately knew I was going to keep coming down here looking for more diamonds. So, to make it easier for future trips, I suffered through adding stairs all the way up the tunnel that I could easily run down. Why was this a suffering process? Well, because of this. I wanted to keep up this diamond streak and get as many as I could in a short amount of time. And well, this decision of mine, for once, was a good one. I ran into a lava pool and was about to stop, but then I found diamonds right next to it and decided to use my big brain and a bucket of H2O to make my way through the pool and keep mining. I was finding diamonds left, right, and center. Literally. By now I had collected 19 more diamonds, which combined with the 12 I already had, meant I had enough for full diamond and all of the tools, even the new diamond pick. Oh, I also found one more vein before returning to the surface. This was probably my most successful early game diamond mine I've ever had in my life, I'm not even kidding. On day 12 I was crafting full diamond armor. Ladies, you know what to do. The door is that way. As the sun set, I made an armor stand from my old armor to stand on. Yeah, what the? For some reason on day 13 I was just sailing. I literally don't know what. Oh, I was looking for ruined portals for more gold, I think. The ocean is always fun to explore, at least. Day 14 started off with a bang. I meant a creeper, not the other kind. I added more armor trims I found in my diamond armor, using lapis to make it blue because... I headed out to the tree farm and killed an enderman who was stealing my flowers. Sorry man, your date will have to wait forever for those flowers. Anyways, a thunderstorm happened, so I slept again. Could somebody tell me why you can sleep through a thunderstorm even if it's daytime? I know I can't do that in real life, it's so loud. Day 15 was spent chopping trees. Again, but near the end, I figured it was time to go and get leather that I needed for a max enchanting table. So I began hunting for some juicy bovine, and I continued hunting for leather and sugarcane. Once I returned, I turned it all into books and made 15 bookshelves, which was enough to max out my table and get level 30 enchants. The problem was, I didn't have level 30 yet, so I needed a farm of some kind. But I knew this farm was going to be huge. It's a design I made on my previous UHC world, and like that farm, this thing was going to be made entirely of spruce wood. So, I went to the nearest mountain, chopped down a spruce tree, stole its children, and then raised them back in my place. Except this time there aren't magical lanterns floating in the sky to lead said children back home to their real parents. And also because their parents are dead, and also because this isn't tangled. Oh, it didn't work. Okay. So I headed back down into the mine shaft to try and kill some skeletons. I actually found diamonds before any skeletons, which was funny, but I did end up finding some of these bones. But then, this happened. This is me. You're probably wondering how I get out of this. You see, the problem is this. half of my body is in the obsidian, while the other half is in the water. That means, if I remove the water, I will just fall back into the lava while also being suffocated by obsidian. But, if I kept the water, I wouldn't burn, but instead, I would drown. So either way, I'm suffocating here. My only hope of escape was breaking the block above me. That was way too close. Hopefully something like that never happens again. Day 18 began with the discovery of a zombie spawner that was only like 20 blocks away from my staircase. I killed the zombies, found more diamonds, and looted the chests, which were terrible. And the only good thing in these chests were bones. I kid you not. I feel like I'm playing 1.2 with how bad this loot was. But now I had a zombie spawner, which could help at some point. Maybe. Unless I completely forget about it. I would never do such a thing. But after nearly dying in the caves and getting plenty of bones, I left. It smells bad down there anyways. That has nothing to do with me. With the bone meal, I finally grew my first tree. Then another. I once again promoted deforestation as I chopped these majestic poles of wood down for my own pleasure. Wait, I just combined poles of wood and pleasure in the same sentence. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I mean, it's fine if that's who you are. Absolutely.
The rest of that day was spent boning the tree. I made my way back to the spawner to try and get level 30 while my trees grew. I dug out the walls because, in case you didn't know, spawners work best with a 9x9 area for them to spawn, and I think 1 or 2 blocks above. Once the room was dug out, I removed the torch, killed some zombies. Oh, and I killed some zombies. Hey, I killed more zombies. Oh look, more zombies. Until I finally hit level 30 on day 19. I returned to the surface and made my first level 30 enchant, an axe with efficiency 4 and unbreaking 3. This was going to be my baby for the next little bit. With this axe, chopping down hundreds or even thousands of spruce logs was actually going to be a fun experience because, well, speed. I don't know, I'm a man who likes speed, even though I'm slow. As actually boring as this may have been, I needed as much wood as possible for this farm. Oh, I actually don't remember this part, but apparently I came back to the zombie spawner again. Anyways, I got level 30 and enchanted a bow. Lame! Anyways, finally on day 21, I began actually making the farm. By now I had a crap ton of logs, so I started off by building a simple slab platform out into the middle of the ocean. By the way, I'm making a creeper farm. That is also an XP farm. Yeah. So from then on until midway through day 22, I built 10 layers to the farm, along with the sun shield, a massive platform that blocked all sunlight from touching the spawning platforms. But this farm isn't just a bunch of platforms. It also requires 1 dispenser per layer, a bunch of repeaters, redstone, and comparators and observers. Those 2 things are problematic for me because of one reason. Quartz. Quartz comes from the nether, and I haven't been there yet. So, I headed underground to find some obsidian. I won't bore you with that, especially with an unenchanted pickaxe. Actually, wait, yes, I will, because I came down here for string as well. Once I had gathered 30 string, I went back up to the surface and made 10 bows, which I then slowly turned into dispensers. Seriously, this is the worst crafting recipe in the game. I hate it so much. Anyways, I placed all the dispensers in the farm along with water buckets, and then I went to go get the obsidian. So, skip! Hey, look at that, I'm back at the surface, and I definitely didn't die just to cut it down and stuff like that. Why would I do that? No, seriously, why would I do that? That's lame. But you're questioning things now, aren't you? Anyways, please subscribe, I'm poor. I entered the nether and the spawn sucks. I instantly had to kill a ghast, so that was fun. I slowly navigated my way to a nearby nether wastes where I collected enough quartz for the farm, then left. I did spot a treasure bastion quite close to me and another fortress, but other than that, I didn't need anything else from here just yet. Once back, I made my observers and comparator. And on day 24, I was ambushed by idiots while waiting for my cobblestone to turn into Why do I write these scripts like this? Somehow this literally For some reason this literally took all day, but I finally had all the supplies I needed for the redstone part of this farm. I spent the night chopping down trees again, as I still needed all the trapdoors. I spent a portion of day 25, yay, a quarter of the way through and I've barely done anything, placing trapdoors. And on day 26, I completely forgot about the trapdoors and began the next part of this farm, turning what is usually just a gunpowder farm into an XP farm. I started off by pillaring up 123 blocks or so above the lowest spawning level. I began building a 3-block wide funnel all the way up to that height. The idea was that I would fill this thing with soul sand bubble elevators, and all the mobs that spawn in the farm would get brought up to a killing chamber in the sky. I spent all night chopping again. On day 27, I hit level 30 again, so I enchanted another terrible bow. Yeah, this thing is awful. I have the worst bow luck ever. Bows just never go well for me. Anyways, then I finished the wooden tower and began to work on the actual killing chamber itself. I started off day 28 by building the ladder that would lead up to it. Basically, this funnel would bring creepers an extra 23 blocks or so up high, and then drop them all down where I could one-shot them. However, spiders were also going to spawn on this thing, and I needed to make sure that they wouldn't clog up the top because they just love climbing walls and never moving. So I went to the nether, grabbed lava, gathered sand because I wanted the glass platform for this killing chamber, climbed the ladder again. Ugh, this thing literally takes 70 seconds to climb. And at the top of the tower, I built a deep slate area where I would have a single lava source that would kill all the spiders that made it up. I then collected an entire inventory of kelp. Why? Because of seaweed, and I'm addicted. I mean, because kelp can turn flowing water into source blocks, and you need source blocks for this elevator to work. So once I had the kelp, I went to the top of the farm, placed the water, then broke the blocks under it, letting it all fall down to the bottom. Then came the hard part. I had to place all these rows of kelp all the way up the tower without drowning. I did this by breaking holes in the tower as I climbed to get air. Once I reached the top, all I had to do was just swim into these holes every now and then. This was going well until this happened. To this day, I have absolutely no idea where that creeper went. But finally, I placed all the kelp I needed to and went down to the bottom to break all the kelp, turning the water into source blocks. What I didn't know is that soul soil does not work the same way soul sand does with water elevators. So I had to return back to the nether to grab some actual soul sand. I just can't believe this. This is ridiculous. It's so rude. Soon, the water elevator was finally ready. The next thing I had to do was build a giant thing of water that would push all the creepers and spiders into the farm. This took a little while. After chopping trees all day until day 32, I finally finished the farm up properly. As expected, the farm started working instantly, so I then continued constructing the killing chamber, adding room for my max enchanting table, which I would bring up here as well. The farm was working insanely well, so I began using it to finally get some good tools and weapons and armor. This took me long enough. Day 34 started off interestingly. Is that a word? A skeleton somehow got into the killing chamber, and if I stood in just the right way, I could get the skeleton to kill the creepers who were all just one-shot. What this means is I could get a lot of music discs. So I made a jukebox, listened to a song for about 3 minutes, and then never used it again. While waiting though, I realized that the farm had slowed down quite a bit, and it turns out that some of the spiders were still surviving despite the lava blade. So I went up there, abused hitboxes to kill all the spiders with my bow, and let the creepers all fall down into the killing chamber. Because I was now so high up, no mobs would spawn below me, so I had time to actually fix this thing. The way I did that was by making sure that there was no air blocks that spiders could climb on before hitting the lava, and this change worked flawlessly. The farm was back up and running, and all the spiders were dying, and I was even getting some of their drops. I started off day 35 by doing yet another level 30 enchant. I've done quite a few off camera, but you guys get to see this one. And god leggings. Nice. By the way, at some point I got an infinity bow. Just thought you might want to know that. Because I'm playing ultra hardcore, I figured that spending multiple days maxing out my gear to the best of my ability was a justifiable use of my limited time. So I did just that, spending multiple days at this farm until I got everything I wanted for now. Unfortunately, on day 37 I ran out of diamonds, so I made my way back down to strip mines to find more. This is so much nicer with the god pick. Boom, 10 more diamonds, that was easy. For the remainder of that day, I continued chopping more and more birch. Why did I say that? In preparation for the next major project. But you guys don't get to see what that project is yet. Well, I did that for a while, and then went back to the creeper farm where I stayed until day 39. Not entirely sure why, but probably more enchanting stuff with my new diamonds. Probably. Don't make me check. Yeah, I checked, and it was that. You jerks. Well, considering how often I came up to this farm, I decided that a ladder wasn't fast enough. Throughout day 39, I transformed this cringy assortment of sticks that I can somehow climb into yet another bubble elevator. Well, that was easy. So here's something that only the eagle-eyed viewers of this video will have noticed so far. I'm still living in the wooden shack, so for my next trick, I'm going to turn this beachside into my house. To start this trick, I must first chop down all the trees. Perfect. Next, I need to flatten out the area. Perfect. Next, I need to move all my spruce saplings over to this coastline for easy access. Yes, this is part of the spell, and it won't work if you don't do this. Now, we start with the foundation. The way this house is going to work is most of the walls will be made of glass panes with spruce wood pillars and a roof of birch. I did this exact design on my original Ultra Hardcore video. It looks modern without modern blocks. Anyways, spruce foundations? Done. The next step is to go to the cherry blossom forest next door and gather several stacks of wood you never end up using. You can skip this step if you want. Next is digging out the floor. Done. Then you gotta not use the new wood because it looks terrible in this setting. So skip this part too. Instead, use all the birch logs you have collected for the first 42 days of your life to create a nice floor pattern once stripped. Replace that terrible wood with oak wood. See what I did there? Okay, I'll leave. Because actually that joke just sapped all my energy. Wait, next step is to go find sand for glass. Then strip your wood, logs. Moving on with the spell, next step is to fill your roof in with birch slabs. Trust me, this looks better soon. I know because I made it before, and because I made it here. I think both of those were obvious, actually. Birch roof? Done. Then you grab a glass and begin filling in the gaps between the spruce log. Also, there's a small detail here of me building an entirely separate structure on top of this elevated platform that would hold my bedroom. Yeah, just a small detail. Anyways, once you've added the bed in the middle of your new bedroom overlooking the ocean, you're now ready to make actual use of the new cherry trees by planting them all over the place. Next step, you add a perimeter of stripped birch logs all the way along your roof, making it ringless at the corners. Now it's time to separate your main building into multiple rooms. You don't want just one big open room because that's boring and it forces everything to be against the glass. Okay, good. We're almost done. It's time to decorate the inside. Start off with your chests. That's an actual genuine tip, by the way. I find it's much easier to build around the chest than the chest around the build. Wait. Okay, so there was one more thing I wanted to change. This centerpiece was originally going to be a massive circular fireplace in the middle, but I didn't like that. Instead, I tore it down and replaced it with a, what do I call this? You know what? I'll just call it the centerpiece. In the middle, I placed water and a little pedestal. This pedestal was where I eventually planned to place the dragon egg. So yeah. I like it a lot, actually. If you ever want your house to look better, just add water features. Also, by the way, the spell is done. Magic, right? Next thing I did was remake my task wall. I mean, just look at all these glorious tasks. Next thing I did was super exciting and very content-worthy. I sorted all my chests. So, skip! Hey Magicov, what were you doing on day 50 of your 100 days, the halfway point? Well, dear viewer, I was still sorting out chests. Thanks for asking. Oh, and that night, I nearly got my ass handed to me by an enderman. That was embarrassing, but I have looting now, so that's one step closer to going to the end. This battle brought forth a new problem, though. I didn't have any golden apples left at all. Nor did I have gold. But the funny thing is, I guess I didn't even realize this at the time, because I went to the nether. You would think, oh my god, he's going to loot bastions for gold blocks, he's so smart, I want to be just like him when I grow up. But no. For some reason, I decided to go to the fortress instead, building a huge bridge across a massive lava pool to make it there. And then once I finished the bridge, I didn't go to the fortress, because I think I then realized why I'd actually come in the first place, to get gold. So that's what I did. Then I made my way to the bastion, grabbing the gold on the walls first because, I mean, hey, it's right there. Now, I'm not very good at looting these things. In fact, I'm pretty awful. But I still managed to actually loot it, finding gold blocks, netherite scraps, these new things that actually let me use the netherite scraps called smithing templates, soul speed 3, tons of gold in the center, and more of those smithing template things. I also found 2 ancient debris as well. And then I left the bastion. Now that I had gold and apples again, I headed towards the fortress. All I wanted for now was blaze rods, so after slowly digging my way to that fortress, I quickly found a blaze spawner. I ended up leaving the nether with 28 gold blocks, which was plenty for now. I spent the night hunting skeletons for bones for bone meal for my house to look pretty. Why? Listen, I ain't got anyone to impress out here. I'm completely by myself, and things can get pretty lonely around here. And when you only have yourself, well, let's just say, a man appreciates his decoration. What did you think I was going to say? Oh, and the very last thing I did to kind of finalize my property was move all of my spruce saplings towards the back. Because when they grow, I think they'll look pretty cool with the huge ass mountains behind them. I had lots of gold, right? But that didn't matter if I didn't have apples either. So I spent time just chopping down tons of oak trees in hopes of getting quite a few apples. To finish off the day, I once again made another huge bridge made of spruce wood all the way out to the creeper farm for easier access. Speaking of creepers, I started off day 55 gathering resources for a sugarcane farm. How are those two things related? Fireworks. That's how. May as well prepare for an elytra earlier than later. Again, digging an area under my bedroom. It's a very simple observer design with a hopper minecart running underneath. I'll skip the process of how it's built because, well, everyone and their moms have made sugarcane farms. Ever heard of baking? Also, I had to go on an adventure to find enough sugarcane, but we don't talk about that part. Day 57 was me chopping birch. Again. Oh, you thought the birch house was all I wanted the birch for, huh? Well, yes, but actually no. Well, yes. And no. Wait, I still have one large building project up my sleeve that's going to take a lot of birch. So for the next 3 days, I did nothing but chop birch, until on day 60, I added lovely paintings to my house depicting my subscribers. You should totally subscribe to look just as cool as these guys do. But this project was also going to be huge, and huge builds require huge advancements. I needed an elytra. Let's face it, the dragon sucks. But some potions would still be nice to have. Specifically, slow falling. I went to the fortress, found netherwort, and left. I totally didn't use up the remainder of my golden apples in the process. I would never be that bad at the game. Also, when I left the nether, this happened. Cool. At least I knew where I was. After brewing some netherwort, I began brewing my slow falling. Then I went back to my starter house and began chopping down some oak trees. Because apples. Yeah. I may or may not have ran out, but you already knew that. I got 11 more, ate 2, grabbed all the supplies I would need, along with making fireworks. Now it begins to search for the stronghold. One eye. Another eye. Same direction. Meow. Oh, it's behind me now. Okay. One more eye. Okay, it's down there. Once I was deep enough, I used F3 plus A to look for torch smoke, which either indicates a mineshaft or a stronghold. So I dug to it. Hello, Stronghold. I began exploring, looking for the portal room. I found a library, which held some very good books, including a mending book and a smithing template. After looking for a little while longer, I found the portal room. I broke the spawner, marked the chords in my book, completed the portal. With slow falling, I gathered my balls and my wits and jumped in. Once inside, I immediately made a risky jump to the end island and began shooting the pillars. Do not ask me why this one took like 20 tries. It just wouldn't go in. I couldn't fit. I was too big. This fight was probably the easiest one of my life. I don't think I even took damage once. Yeah, that was easy. After grabbing the dragon egg, I made my way to the end gateway and crawled my way through using trapdoors. In the outer end islands, I increased my render distance to see further and spotted a huge end city pretty close by. And I had a ship. I made my way over, pillared up to the ship, took lots of damage, grabbed the dragon head, healed with a potion, which was actually pretty smart I think, and finally claimed my wings. I then made a shulker box to store some of my stuff in, forgot about the crafting table, and began to loot more of the city. On day 63 I left the city, returned to the end portal, and officially beat the game. Wait, is beating the game when you kill the dragon or go through the portal? Either way, I beat the game. Be proud of me. No? Okay. The first thing I did when I got home was put mending and unbreaking from the creeper farm onto my new wings. I can fly now. Now it's time to start this huge project. Just kidding. I had no idea how long this project of mine would take, so I decided to do other important stuff first, such as heading to the nether fortress with my looting 3 sword to begin hunting for wither skeletons, which proved to not be as easy as I originally thought. I got my first skull rather quickly, and then this happened. I was precariously low on health and had no way to regenerate. For some reason though, I kept on hunting until I eventually was forced to hide. Down to 4 hearts of mobs surrounding me, I sat there trying to think of a way out of this. So I threw on my elytra and flew out of there as quickly as I could. A very risky maneuver, but you know, it worked. But that was the second time in this playthrough that I nearly died. Sometimes I can get through entire videos without even getting close to dying, so this was a very pleasant change. Not because death is pleasant. Well, maybe. But because near-death experiences make the game fun. But at this point, I was sick and tired of my apple shortage. I needed a better source other than chopping trees. So, I gathered all my emeralds and took to the skies in search of a village. I found one not too far away from where the stronghold was. And believe it or not, this was the very village I mentioned earlier in the video. The one I said would play a major role in this world soon. And let me tell you, I don't think I've ever utilized the village for this much in my life before. I began by trying to unlock the apple trade on a farmer, but unfortunately the first one didn't have it. I used the Fletcher to trade sticks for more emeralds and began unlocking the trades of another farmer, and thankfully, this beautiful, sexy, amazing man, he had apples. After collecting all the villagers' hay bales and selling it back to them for more emeralds, I finally had a decent amount. With my remaining gold, I turned these apples into golden apples and finally healed myself. I also realized that I still had all my levels from killing the dragon. That took me an insane amount of time to realize. Shut up! Anyways, I headed to the creeper farm where my enchanted table was with some books and lapis, hoping to get some decent enchantment. I got a flame book and a feather falling 4 book. Do you know how rare feather falling books are? The reason I spent so long in the early game enchanting because I was trying to get feather falling on my boots, but I never could. I also broke my anvil. It was here that I realized I had no iron left, but I couldn't worry about that yet. I drank the fire res, headed back to the nether, and resumed my hunt. By the time day 65 began, I had gathered all 3 skulls and was on my way out of there, never to return again. Day 65 continued with me hunting ghasts. One of the tasks on my task wall was to get regen potions, so after stabbing some floating babies, I began brewing. After the potions were brewed, I headed out to a sandy beach because not only did I want to fight the wither, I wanted sand too. So, what better way is there to collect sand other than using the withers to mine for you? Finally, the battle began, and I underestimated this wither. Well, that's the third time I've been below 2 hearts in this world. I'm gonna die one of these days, I think. I don't know what made the wither so tough compared to the others I've fought in this exact same setting, but either way, I had a nether star and tons of sand, and I didn't die, so the video goes on. Day 66 started off with me making the beacon, which for now, I just use as a lamp because I don't have enough resources to make any sort of actual beacon right now. That's where the village comes in. Again, it was time to make an iron farm. But before that, I did go on a pretty decent caving mission looking for gold and iron, because once again, I ran out of gapples. So this is what I got. It was actually a pretty decent trip. Now that I had gapples again, it was time to use this village. The first thing I did was dig a hole and place all of the workstations in said hole so that the villagers would all wander into it. This would make it easier for me to transport them to my base of portals. I was remarkably close to my actual home portal, so I connected the two with a dirt bridge that would be used for railways. But once again, my damn nether portal took me into the mine shaft. The reason this was happening is because my original portal had been built by my starter home. To fix this, I synced the portals back up in the nether by moving my nether side portal to the same coordinates of the overworld portal, divided by 8. Once the new portal worked, I used my remaining gold and some iron to craft rails. And on day 69, I dug out a hole for the villagers at my house and began to link the 2 portals. Back on the overworld side, it was time to move the villagers. I would push one guy through, follow him, place a minecart, send him on his way, break the minecart once I got back to my portal, and push the villager through. And I had to do this 6 more times because the farm I'm making requires 6. Another thing this farm needed was a named zombie. So I took a name tag, renamed it to something you should totally do, and I lured the zombie towards my villagers and trapped him in a hole, naming him once he was there. Just sleeping again, it was time to make the farm itself. This farm is relatively cheap, requiring only half an inventory of easily obtainable materials. The hardest part of the farm comes from its height. I don't know how high up these things have to be, but I always make sure they're at least 64 blocks in the sky to avoid clashing with any potential villages down here. I don't know if that's how it works, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. By now I had enough bones to not risk drowning while placing kelp, so after everything was ready, I bone mealed the kelp, created the elevator, and tricked the zombie into the water. Once at the top, I placed the cauldron under his feet and trapped him for now. Once I was done that, I began moving my villagers slowly and tediously into the water elevator. I've had a lot of practice with moving villagers and making this farm, and it's paying off today. All I had to do was remove the dirt around the zombie and the farm would start. But I needed a place to actually kill the golems first. So on day 73, I began construction of a lovely little wooden home of death and destruction for all things metal. Or whatever. After finishing the killing chamber and removing all of the dirt, I now had a steady source of iron. Finally. On day 74, I decided to add a little simple walkway from my house to the iron farm. Nothing fancy, just, you know. And now it's time for the big project. I want to build a super yacht made of wood, but I've also never built a yacht before in Minecraft. Ever. In 11 years of playing. So instead of wasting my time on my 100 days world trying to figure out how to build the yacht, I went into a creative world first and built it there. Once I was happy with the yacht's design, I began hunting for materials to make it, mainly dark oak. I didn't have any yet, so I went on an adventure to find some. And instead of the dark oak, I found a massive mega taiga. I needed lots of spruce wood too, so I decided to sleep and spend a bit of time doing some actual deforestation. You know, the kind that negatively affects the environment. That kind. After getting something like 15 stacks of logs, I left. I found the dark oak soon after that, and after sleeping again, I began to do some actual deforestation. You know, the kind that negatively affects the environment. That kind. Did we already make that joke? We already. Okay. Anyways, I chopped all day until it became night again, and I slept again. Oh, also on my way back home, I found out there was another dark oak like 300 blocks from my base that I missed. I had traveled out 6,000 blocks for that other one, so that was lame. Now, this next part of the video is going to be hard to describe because it was very new to me at the time. I didn't just build that yacht in creative to practice. I built that yacht in creative so that I could take a schematic of it and then rebuild it here. Pretty much any YouTuber that has ever built a farm from a tutorial has likely done this too, so shut up. I still needed to place all the blocks myself, and for the underwater sections, the schematic actually made this a lot harder because I could hardly see. But finally, after 77 days, I began construction of my largest project yet. Ignoring the fact that this yacht would sink in real life, building from a schematic was actually pretty cool. I can see why hermitcraft does it. Probably. Day 83, I took a little detour to the creeper farm to enchant myself a silk touch shovel. That's because the lower levels of my yacht actually were made of snow blocks, so I needed Silk Touch in order to collect the abundant amount of snow from the nearby mountain. By the way, if you're wondering what this yacht is used for, watch until the end to find out. Now you have to. Something. Oh, I returned to see my spruce bridge burning down. If that had happened to my yacht, well, Yeah, I don't want to think about it. During that night, I finally found a use for all the sand I had gathered from the water fight. I had to drain out the boiler room. Yes, I actually designed a boiler room that would house the engine for the yacht or something. It's Minecraft. This process brought me into day 85, where after finishing up with the sand, this happened. I'm unmuting my mic for what just happened. What the hell? I just got struck by lightning. I'd rather not have my ship burned down. What the actual Bro, that is the stupidest way I've ever had to use the golden apple in this world. So I guess even Thor hates my damn boat. Probably because of all the deforestation. On day 87, I was finally done the schematicized yacht. Is that a word? It sounds dirty. No, it doesn't. But the base structure of the yacht was now complete and ready for use. With that, I needed more tasks on my wall, so I added some. Also, I was finally ready to complete yet another major task, the regeneration beacon. My iron farm had been running non-stop the entire time I built the yacht, and it had already generated more than enough iron for the entire beacon. So I grabbed the iron, dug out an area underneath the dragon egg because I wanted the beam to go through it, placed the beacon at a speed of regeneration, and made it pink. I don't know why I made it pink, but it fits the cherry blossoms, okay? Now, it was time to move on to these last two tasks. Starting off with getting notch apples. The way to do this most efficiently is with ancient cities. I have a ton of mountains near me, so the plan was to get a bunch of wool to navigate the city, fly off to a much larger mountain, dig down, and hope I found the city. Just beyond my icy mountains were huge snow-capped peaks, so I figured that this would be the best place to start. I found the cave, killed a zombie villager, and headed inside, hoping it would go all the way down. It didn't, but it got me deep enough where I just decided to dig down instead. Now, this may seem like I'm just blindly digging down hoping for something. While that's true, there is a method to this madness of mine. That method is called the sea counter. This lets you find caves, I think. It certainly helped me. While at the top, I would find where the number was the highest and follow it. Doing this led me into a cave, and to my delight, I actually found an ancient city down here. Now I just had to explore it and not die. But when I tell you this was the easiest ancient city of my life, I'm not kidding. By the time I left on day 89, I had found 3 notch apples, Swift Sneak 3, and even a smoothing template. Once I made it back home, leaving the way I came, I went to the creeper farm for a few minutes to get the levels to put Swift Sneak on my leggings. After sleeping, I went out to that nearby dark oak and got myself a brown mushroom. I combined it with sugar and a spider eye to create a fermented spider eye, which I then turned into weakness potions. Actually, I didn't do that yet. I just remembered something else I wanted to do. Netherite. I had gathered a few of those netherite upgrade thingies on my journey, and I wanted netherite armor, alright? Jeez. Why must I justify everything to you? Oh, you didn't ask me to? Well, damn. Alright. I went to the nether, found a place to dig down, and just dug. Dug until I found enough ancient debris to be satisfied, which all happened in the same day. I spent more time looting bastions for more netherite upgrade thingies, and once I had enough, I returned home. I didn't nearly get ambushed by brutes, you did. And I didn't jump into lava. Yes, I did. Once I returned home, I used all my smithing upgrade thingies to make my armor, minus the chestplate, into netherite, along with my sword. Then, I began to play around with the armor trims until I ended up looking like this. I actually love these things. And now it's time for the villagers. Day 92 began with me once again digging out an area for my villagers on the other side of the portal. Unfortunately, one of the only 2 villagers left in this village was a nitwit, but for now he would be good enough. The reason this is an issue is because I don't think they can breathe without me feeding them, because they're stupid. Once that was ready, I began to use the yacht. The top floor would house a fully automatic villager breeder. A very simple design where there are 3 beds, 2 villagers that feed each other using a farm, and trapdoors between them. But the thing is, villagers can't swim. Nor can I tell them what to do, because they're strong, independent NPCs. So, I had to use force, aka minecarts. I built a dirt bridge up to the yacht and began placing rails down. I returned to the village and captured the remaining 2, meaning this village was now completely empty. I then messed up. I didn't completely seal the hole I had made for the villagers and they both escaped. So I had to painstakingly move them back into the hole with minecarts. That was annoying. Then I moved both of the villagers into the breeder. But that wasn't all I wanted to do with this yacht. Not only did I want a breeder, I also wanted a zombie to infect all of the children. I'm insane. So on day 94, just below the trapdoors, I added the chamber where the villagers would fall, and then when they grew up, a zombie would be able to reach them and infect them. That way, I could just come along and cure them whenever I wanted. I built yet another dirt bridge so I could lure a zombie over. I renamed the name tag to something you should definitely do, then waited for night. It didn't take long for me to find a zombie, except this zombie was an idiot. Ugh, finally. Then I made 2 lecterns, for some reason. I only needed 1. My ultimate goal for this, by the way, was not only to set up the villager breeder, but to also finally get mending on all my tools. But the days were dwindling down, so I needed to work fast. And on day 95, I removed the railway, cleaned up my portal, and while I was waiting for the breeder to work, I began transforming all of the land behind my bedroom into a massive farm. This was something I probably should have done way earlier, but the thing is, in UHC, you barely use any food at all, because you don't lose hunger by regenerating. Because you don't regenerate. Yeah. By day 96, the breeder still hadn't worked yet, because I don't think it would have without my intervention. So I continued the farmland all throughout the day and night just waiting for nothing. On day 97, I began to try things out with the breeder to make it work better, but then this happened. If I didn't go down there, my villager would die. So I jumped in, let the villager fall into some hay bales below, then followed him down. This was annoying. I then had to use rails once again to get my villager back up, and after fixing the issue, I continued my farmland. During that night, I planted wheat, potatoes, and carrots. But I didn't have time or the bone meal to finish. I only had 2 days left to get all my mending, and the breeder still hadn't worked yet. Finally, on day 98, I put my head on my shoulder and fed the villagers myself, since this farmer obviously didn't want to share with the nitwit. Moments later, a child had fallen into the chamber. Now I just had to wait another 20 minutes before curing him, which would take another 5 minutes. Then reset his trades until I got mending, which would take longer. And then I had to buy the books and get enough levels to put it on everything. And I only had a day and a half left to do this. So while I was waiting for the villager to grow, I headed up to my creeper farm, which thankfully was close enough to keep the villager rendered and growing, and focused on getting the XP. I had to multitask at this point, I had no choice. During the night, I finally brewed the weakness potions because I actually completely forgot about them up until this moment. On day 99, the villager finally grew up, got infected, and then burnt. I had left the top open to sunlight. But he didn't die. Thankfully, I was quick enough to place water down so he wouldn't die, and after covering the top, I began curing him. That could have been bad. I then sat there and waited for him to be cured. The problem with this type of design is if I'm not there when they finish getting cured, they'll just get reinfected by the zombie again. Luckily, this didn't happen, and I could finally begin resetting his trades, which took another 7 damn minutes to do. Once I got the trade, I lucked it by buying 2 books, then put them on my armor, got more emeralds, got more books, bought more mending, and headed up to the creeper farm. And finally, by 10 AM on day 100, I finally got mending on all my tools. I kinda overextended my time limit, but hey, it's still day 100. Keep watching. Hey, I said keep watching. Sorry, that was mean. Anyways, once I got mending on everything, that was it. I had survived 100 days in 1.20 ultra hardcore, and now you know how I did it. I had a ton of fun on this world, and I certainly plan to play on it a lot more. Okay, now you can leave. Bye bye.